Hello, this is Xbox Ahoy, and this is Behind the Scenes. In this third episode, I'm going to be talking about my voice production techniques, basically how I go from a written script to a final voiceover track. Of course, it all starts with a microphone, as there are few other ways to transform a voice into a digital signal. My microphone of choice is the Rode Podcaster. I've had this thing for about 5 years now. It's built like a tank and it has wonderful, wonderful sound quality right out of the box. I use the Podcaster with the WS2 windshield. This helps me to enforce minimum distance and also ensures that any sort of pops or plosives don't appear too loud on the vocal track. You can use something like a pop screen in its place, anything really, but this was easier to mount as it just fits onto the end of the microphone. The Podcaster is mounted in a shock cage, the PSM shock mount. This provides protection against low frequency noise, bangs, knocks, that sort of thing, and isolates the microphone from anything else it's connected to. The entire assembly is pretty heavy, so it requires a pretty good stand to mount the whole ensemble to, and I use the PSA-1 desk mount. This is a cantilever type design that clamps onto my desk and allows me to position it pretty much wherever I please within a 1 meter radius. Prior to this, I did use just a standard desk stand, which did the job, but, was a little bit more intrusive. So that's the hardware aspect covered. So obviously following from that, it's the actual recording process itself. Now, one thing that I find quite important to do is monitoring. Whilst I'm actually recording, I like to have headphones connected to the Podcaster, which lets me hear everything that the microphone can hear. For this, I tend to use my GRADO SR80s, but honestly, doesn't really matter. I have used my Astros in the past, but as long as you can hear what you're doing, monitoring's a good way to keep your levels correct and just make sure that you're not putting any sort of unwanted sound into the microphone. As for the actual recording process itself, I use SONY SoundForge. The actual connection between Podcaster and PC is very, very simple, as it's a USB microphone, so there's no cables or anything like that you have to worry about. Very, very simple indeed. Just plug and play, and you can record into any audio program at all, really. SoundForge is all very well and good, but Audacity works just as well, or you can even record directly into Sony Vegas. Once recorded, I'll just save out the file as a fairly bog standard WAV file. It used to be the case that I would do some post-processing in SoundForge, but these days I tend to add effects in Vegas, as having the effects in a Vegas project makes for more reproducible sound. So in SoundForge, all I do is simply save out the raw audio. Just make sure that when you do record, you don't clip the audio. If you go too loud, there'll be some nasty distortion. So make sure that when you record, you never hit the red, otherwise you'll have hard clipping, which you can't fix. Next up, I'll import the audio file into Sony Vegas, make an audio track for it, and then I can start to add effects. It's also here where I'll sequence the audio, as I generally don't record stuff in a single long take. Instead, I split things into sections, sentences, or whatever, and reassemble them on the timeline. In Vegas, you can split items on your timeline by simply placing your cursor and then pressing the S key. This is akin to taking a pair of scissors to a virtual tape and allows me to mix and match different sections and eliminate any coughs, splutters, or bad readings of a section. I can drag around each of these sections as well to adjust timing. If I wanted to add a dramatic pause, for instance, it's just a simple matter of dragging the event a little further down the timeline and adjusting everything so it flows properly. As far as the actual effects are concerned, I tend to keep it fairly simple. I only use a couple, and I apply them to the track. The first effect I use is called the track noise gate. What this essentially does is it cuts out the bits in between where I'm speaking, where there might be white noise, fan noise, stuff in the background, anything beneath a certain threshold. This makes everything sound a lot less noisy. It almost fools the brain by eliminating the noise in the gaps. The entire recording sounds much, much less noisy. So noise gating is a very easy and effective means of improving the overall perceived quality of your microphone recording. It's no substitute for a good original track, but it certainly helps. The second effect is called the wave hammer, which really encapsulates two separate things in one convenient package. The first of these is a compressor. A compressor makes the quieter bits louder and the louder bits quieter, which evens out the waveform and Makes everything a bit more pleasant to listen to, especially voice. Compression is very much a standard when it comes to any sort of professional level voice editing. Any voice you hear on the television or on radio will be compressed. In addition, the Wavehammer also has a volume maximizer. This lets you fill the full available range of volumes without running the risk of hard clipping. What I tend to do is adjust the threshold until there's a few decibels of volume limitation coming into effect. This means the voice track's going to be nice and loud, but without any problems with hard clipping or any distortion. So that's it. Gating, compression, and then maximization. From there, if I have multiple audio tracks in a project, I can adjust the volume of each of those to sit nicely together. Normally I dip the volume of the music and the gameplay sounds quite considerably. Music tends to go to about minus 15 decibels, and gameplay sounds further still, maybe minus 20. And so there you have it. That's pretty much my entire audio process. Promise you there are no more secrets beyond that. It's very, very simple. Simply start with a good microphone, make sure you get a clean recording, make sure you don't clip, and then gate, compress, maximize for a perfect voiceover track. Thank you for watching. This is Xbox Ahoy, and this has been Behind the Scenes. Until next time, farewell.